You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible.
Folks, earlier this evening, the Poor People's Campaign launched a Moral Monday digital march to stop Mitch McConnell's misery, meanness, and mayhem. We live streamed that, got about 165,000 views on our platform. Reverend Dr. William J. Barber, of course, leader of the Poor People's Campaign, tweeted, "McConnell is too comfortable with the thousands of deaths and untold suffering from the pandemics of COVID-19, systemic racism, and poverty. In this urgent crisis of leadership, we must come together to demand a full and just relief package that lifts from the bottom." Now, the folks at the American Federation of State, County, Municipal Employees, they've also launched a campaign to put pressure on Mitch McConnell. Watch this.
The coronavirus is wrecking state and local budgets. If the Senate doesn't act, it will mean painful cuts to essential public services across America. Fewer teachers and nurses, longer response times, dirtier streets. But some say our states should just go bankrupt. Text FUND to 237-263 to tell Congress to fund our essential public services. AFSCME is responsible for the content of this ad.
And of course, AFSCME is also a partner here at Roland Martin Unfiltered. Joining me right now is Reverend Dr. William Barber. Dr. Barber, always a pleasure to have you here. Bottom line is this here, and while you're talking, we got you on the phone while you're talking. I'm going to roll some of the video from earlier from the live stream. Bottom line is this here. What did you want to achieve with today's action targeting Mitch McConnell?
Well, first of all, thank you, Roland. Thank you so much. You know, we have to triangulate people. We have to have targets. And one of the things that has happened in all of this is Trump is getting all the attention. McConnell has not been getting attention, and McConnell is doing more damage in some ways than Trump because of what he's holding back and because of what he's passing. That cannot happen. Not only in this election must we have a transformation at the top, we've got to have a real transformation of the Senate. And that's why I asked me, my brother, President Lee Saunders, and I, and the Poor People's Campaign, we're together. Because they're even trying to play this other game. They're saying, okay, we may do something for state and municipal workers, but we're not going to do anything for unemployed workers. And they're trying to pit it. And we're saying, that's not going to work. Mitch McConnell's policy is legislative evil. Let's hear me on this. We had folk on Kentucky that laid it out. Mitch McConnell is dangerous and has been dangerous. Mitch McConnell has held up fixing the Voting Rights Act for over 7 years. Mitch McConnell is, because of what he has done, is the reason we don't have universal health care and the reason people are dying. Mitch McConnell has refused to deal with living wages. And what he just did, but now understand how powerful this man is technically. Roland, and we've talked about this. When the corporations said they wanted $3-4 trillion, they got everything they wanted. But he made sure that the first 3 bills gave 83% of all the money to banks and corporations. That's McConnell's work. He's the one stacking these federal courts with people who don't even believe that Brown versus Board of Education is settled law. And as of Saturday, when we look at this, 30 million plus workers who were receiving $600 a week were cut off. 50 million people have applied for unemployment. 27 million people have lost their insurance, added to the 87 million people that already were underinsured or uninsured. That's 114 million people. This is directly a result of Mitch McConnell. 10 to 20 million people are at risk of being homeless. 50 million people and families are going hungry and will go hungry. And he told us what he was going to do from the beginning. He said, I'm not going to pass anything unless it guarantees legal immunity to corporations who hire workers in unsafe conditions. If they are not protected from being sued, I'm not going to pass anything. And what he's also negotiating for, finally, he wants $250 billion more of tax cuts in this bill to the wealthy. He wants $28 billion for the military they haven't even asked for. And we know now, Roland, that wealthy, greedy folk have made $755 billion off of this pandemic. So as my good friend, Reverend Dr. Jeremiah Wright says, the pandemic has exposed the pandemonic. And so what we're doing is we're going straight. We can't be in the street right now to go in it where we can't get in the offices. We put 156, almost 200-some thousand people came on and shut down those phone lines. We're going to be calling them. We're going to be jamming them. We even going to mail him Bibles and constitutions because he doesn't know what is neither one of them. But we are no longer going to let Mitch get a pass while Trump is acting out and Mitch is hiding under his skirt tails. No more. No more. No more.
Well, what's crazy to me is that when you look at what they're trying to do, all right, the Trump White House wants to shove a couple of billion in the bill for a new FBI headquarters. You've got again, they want these tax cuts. First of all, why are you giving more money to the military? 2 occasions since Trump has been president. The $700 billion bill that John McCain pushed, and then there was another allocation. I mean, Jesus. I mean, look, I get a strong defense, but the military needs more money right now when you have 40 million Americans impacted by unemployment because of coronavirus?
Now, a few weeks ago, there was a move to ask for 10% of that military budget, $800 billion. Now, understand what that means. These are the real numbers. If you cut our military budget in half to $350 billion a year, or let's say $400 billion a year, we would still have more money in our military budget than China, North Korea, Iran, Iraq, and Russia combined. What we have is a military industrial complex, and because of that, we put 54 cents of every discretionary dollar into the military budget and less than 16 cents of every discretionary dollar into education, health care, and wages and infrastructure. They couldn't get but 90 votes a few weeks ago. Mitch now wants to add more money, right, because he makes sure his corporate donors get paid for. While we are dying, while the country is under siege, no, it doesn't make any sense, but it's also dead. And this is where we're going to have to go with this. Now, I want to say something on your show because we talk all the time. I believe in all my heart that we have got to get in this. We got to do everything we can when a cop shoots a black man, and especially a woman, and when it's on camera. And that is a form of police violence. But we cannot let this society believe that only police violence is the only kind of racism that kills. Mm-hmm. We cannot let them think that that's the only violence that's going to get us moving, right, and get us in the street or get us mad or get us organized. Because I did some numbers this weekend real quick. 700 people die a day from poverty even before COVID. That's one person every 2.5 minutes that dies from poverty and low wealth. 61% of black people are poor and low wealth. So that means we are dying every 2 minutes at phenomenal numbers, and that policy violence against the poor is lynching and strangling black people just like the cops that shoot unarmed black people. And in fact, in raw numbers, more people die from policy violence. If there are 30 million uninsured people in this country, 15 million of them are poor, are people of color. 5,600 people die every year from the lack of health insurance. That's 1 million people, 5,600 people die for every 1 million uninsured. That means, Roland, that every 6.25 minutes, a person of color dies from the lack of health care. And Mitch McConnell blocks health care. So he is just as guilty of our folk dying as a cop that gets filmed on camera. We just don't see the results of it on camera. And we're going to have to make sure that that connection is made. If we're talking about a real reckoning in this country, it, yes, has to be around a reconstruction around police violence and racism, but it's also got to be with all this other form of policy violence that is killing our people unnecessarily.
And this is also where you make the point, the millions of poor people who have not been voting, they can actually not only make the difference, they could, if they vote with their numbers, they could absolutely, as I'll keep saying that in the movie Remember the Titans, when my man said, Herman, leave no doubt.
Leave no doubt. Leave no doubt. Roland, you and I have been talking about this, and this is why we're going to be Mar Monday for a while just on Mitch McConnell, because we got to get people to see this. Listen, we got a report coming out next week. I can't talk about all of it, but I can talk some of it. That report is going to show, we're working with Columbia University and some others, that if 37% of poor and low-wealth people, black, white, and otherwise, organize around an agenda. I'm not talking about voting for a personality. I'm talking about voting your agenda, voting in the personality that's closest to your agenda, and then after the election, making them do your agenda. That's what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
37%. If we just voted at the same level that higher income people voted, could change every election in this country, including the presidency and Senate. In some states, 10% of poor and low wealth people coming together. We're organizing them now, black and white and brown. 10% would leave no doubt. There would be no room. There wouldn't be like just a little 0.5% victory or 1% victory. No, in every state, in the 3 states that Trump's so-called won, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, he won by, 79,000 votes. We've done the numbers. 2.1 million poor and low-income people in those areas that did not vote. 2.1 million. If you just had 10% of that, 220 million, you outdistance his victory in those 3 states by 130,000 votes. Doc, it's time to go surgical on this stuff. And that's why we're narrowing the focus. Everybody mad with Trump. Okay, good. We know that. Now we got to also narrow and say, you cannot be upset about what Trump has done. You cannot be upset about what the cops did in Minnesota and then in Atlanta and all that. You got to be upset. God knows I am. But if you're upset about the deaths that come out of that, you got to look at Mitch McConnell and this Senate and all of the death and the deadliness and the mayhem that's coming out of these violent public policies. And lastly, Roland, this man alone, nobody else, has sat on fixing the Voting Rights Act for 7 years plus, 7 years and 2 months. Think about that now. Strom Thurmond only filibustered the Civil Rights Act of 1957 for 1 day, and we call him a stone racist. McConnell has refused to fix the Voting Rights Act for 7 years and almost 2 months, over 2,590 plus days. We cannot, and he's quiet, and he's cool with it, and he doesn't make a lot of noise, and he doesn't say stupid stuff like Trump, even though we put out a video today, Roland, where in a back room where he thought nobody was filming him, he said, I am the Grim Reaper. You don't have to worry about health care. You don't have to worry about living wages and voting rights. He pointed to himself and say, I am the Grim Reaper. But he wouldn't dare say stuff like that in public because he's too smart for that. See, he's not Trump. We got to make sure that we understand, yes, going after racist police departments, yes, dealing with Trump, but we also got to deal with McConnell and deal with this Senate. And that's why today we had an old-style sit-in. We called it a call-in. We used New Jack City technology. We pumped 100,000 calls into that office, and we're going to keep doing it. We're going to keep mobilizing people because, Doc, if we want change, let's have it for real all the way.
Well, and we stand with you on that, so we certainly appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, you, Doc. Take care.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.